Hello, and welcome to another week. Although, remember, the work week is a fiction. Monday, doubly so. You can get rid of them. You can get rid of them if you really want to. This is Social Justice Alchemy. As you heard through the giggles, I have invited my friend, SomeRandomGeek, to join us. I know that
Hello.
my affect is rather muted, and he, or they, are much more interesting than I am. They'll add a heck of a lot of chuckles.
Don't sell yourself too short.
I have a voice made for radio, but I don't inject as much tone as I might like. But the Geek, I do like the Geek. The Geek is good at tone, and... just some info about the Geek, for those of you who haven't seen them around. They are the left's answer to the Scarlet Pimpernel, I think.
Okay, now I have to see any one of the versions of the Scarlet Pimpernel, because, like, you say that, I know the reference, but only from Blackadder.
I only know it from Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I don't read enough books as there is, and I have been recommended to read some Heinlein, especially from my right libertarian coworker.
He is definitely right libertarian. Moon is a Harsh Mistress was Heinlein's recreation of the American Revolution on the moon as a libertarian sort of thing, and so on. The reference in that case was one of their people, Adam Selene, actually a supercomputer that had achieved sentience. They set up they wanted their computer friends to pretend to have been everywhere at every meeting, every social event sort of thing, and they called them the Scarlet Pimpernel. So that is where I got that from. Otherwise, I don't really know anything about the Scarlet Pimpernel, except that it's a literary reference from the 19th, early 20th century, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
A French nobleman who ran around doing stuff, and he would leave behind a Scarlet Pimpernel, a kind of flower. So basically 18th or 19th century spy fiction.
Yeah, and now I know why you call me that, because especially it's only been you. You contact me on social media a couple of times, where it's like my favorite one where you just started a tweet. I'm going to watch this stream from some Owen McDonald and the Definitive Digital. SomeRandomGeek, you're in like every one of these like leftist live chats, aren't you?
Yes, you are. You're everywhere on LeftTube. If there's a live chat or a Skype thing going on, then it seems like you're there. You're at every hangout.
or maybe I'm just like every single one that you see and something like that.
But then I'm pretty sure that I found like half of my channels through things that you introduced me to, so not too surprising.
Oh, so I knew, I kind of was suspecting that maybe I have that effect on like some people. I definitely know that like it was just randomly where I was like going through my brother's like Facebook because he posted something that like I totally agree with, and then I saw him arguing with another Facebook friend, and this guy's infamous to me because he is a Christian and a right libertarian, and it's just like the arguments that they have is just like, wow. But in one of those exchanges, he mentioned, I'm just going off of what my younger brother has like posted on his Facebook and shared on his social media when he has gone like far left and stuff like that. It's like, yes, I'm bringing other people over to the far left, which is, yes. Well, so at least I'm doing something, as it were. So yeah. What channels have I introduced you to? That's just out of curiosity.
Definitely Owen McDonald. Maybe Non-Compete. Maybe Peter Coffin. I really don't know. It's hard for me to remember where all I found most of my LeftTube subscriptions.
Yeah.
So it's just I know it's like I wander around Kevin Logan, Christy Winters, Steve Shives. Yes. There's the Geek.
Yes. Well, Kevin Logan and Chrissy Winters, Steve Schneider for sure, because I just became friends with them. Is like Chrissy Winters is very easy because I became a patron and with hers, and she always tried to have like a friendly relationship with the patrons, especially the ones that join her in her hangout. Which is why she uses Facebook as a way of communication to set up those hangouts and stuff like that. Yeah. So I felt like a friend relationship with Chrissy Winters as opposed to a parasocial relationship with her, because she reached out to me to make that connection when I became a patron and joined on her hangouts and stuff like that. And actually the first hangout I did with Chrissy Winters, the Patreon hangout, was the one where we covered the H. Bomber Guy's video on Sherlock and why it's garbage. And that's where I said, actually, Chrissy, I discovered you because of H. Bomber Guy. Because of that video of why anti-feminist versus facts, either the first or the second video that H. Bomber Guy did on Sargon of Akkad. And Chrissy Winters featured prominently in there because H. Bomber Guy showed the first debate that Chrissy Winters' song had on the Skeptic Feminist channel in 2016. But it was like more or less that I saw Chrissy Winters through Garrett, because Garrett did a hangout with Chrissy Winters, a 4-hour hangout with Chrissy Winters and Tom Abell. And yeah, it was like H. Bomber Guy leaked Garrett, and then Garrett flew open the floodgates to me to all the feminist
Garrett, YouTubers. Is that demotivator opinion?
No. But that's Garrett, who was old friends with the Motivator Opinion. Garrett had an old channel where it was him doing his videos, in response to Sargon of Akkad and stuff like that. You can still find a mirror of that video of response to Sargon of Akkad, and I'll make sure to send you the link to that one. Mm-hmm. But that's where we got the term of Sargon, which
the 20 seconds that he can listen to something.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes. And H. Bomber Guy explored this in the first video he did covering Sargon of Akkad, and linked to Garrett and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
That old channel is got deleted. There's behind the scenes a bit of drama but I won't go into that because he has been public about that, and I'm not going to share anything that he's not public about. But his new channel is back, and he's an anarchist. And so, he was an anarchist. He used to say, and he's mentioned this before, I'm a narco-syndicalist in theory, but a democratic liberal in practice, or democratic socialist in practice. Trump happened then. And that's where he said, I'm an anarchist now. He admit that he softened his political beliefs because Obama's in the office. The world's it's not a shit. And yeah, I think that's all of us were kind of I think all of us were just the world's not a shit. A black person is the president. Whereas and many of us now are kind of almost either with dire remorse or just regret. Just man, we should have hold Obama's feet to the fire or something like that. But there was also the Republican Senate and Republican Congress that was just not playing ball. And some of the things that they were doing, the extreme things that they were doing, blocking, shutting down the government, filibustering, or just instant filibustering to not get anything done, has carried over to today. And the Republicans have pushed farthest to the right as much as possible, but which has caused the Democrats to match. And then also Harry Reid reduced the Senate vote from 60, required 60 votes to pass the bill, to then 51, the simple majority. And that's
that was for appointing judges, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right.
That's where he went nuclear.
Right, which is why Mitch McConnell, unsurprisingly, said we're just not whatsoever for Obama's possibly Obama's last nomination. So we had a vacant, only a 8-member Supreme Court for over a year.
It's amazing how the abuse of authority and power drives people to hate authority and power. It's
and for me also it's how the need for money.
Cut out there. The need for what?
The need for money, it makes me hate money. But,
yes.
Especially since I've befriended people who are disabled, and so just can't work, and so that's where it's oh yeah, I gotta remember that. I got to remember disabled people are people too, and so even though we post articles or the articles are written and shared about how, like the one I just read today, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm totally not surprised by that number.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, my disabled friend said, yeah, and people no one cares.
Yep. And disabled people aren't even living paycheck to paycheck and can barely manage to live. Yeah, it's utter horseshit.
And some of them require. I don't know if you heard my brother. He's playing Smash Brothers right now. So.
Okay, I thought maybe it was a Furby or something.
So just for background noise, and I made a joke about this also in like one of my vlogs on the Some Random Geek YouTube channel. This youtube.com/user/Quakers123. That's in QUAGAERS. That's a reference to Red Dwarf.
Okay.
And I live like a couple miles down the road from an airport, so I occasionally hear like airplanes flying by.
Gotcha. I actually am in a similar situation, except I'm living near a military base, Air Force base.
Ah,
yes, but they don't normally fly in this direction. They go toward the country.
Toward the country. What are they defending?
Not sure. It's an Air Force base. It's almost certainly is the naval base still there? A naval base down in Charleston. It's probably what's going on there.
I mean, like Kevin Logan always points this out that like the Navy have their own Air Force, as it were, as well as like the Navy ships and stuff like that. I mean, aircraft carriers, and then the Air Force, its own thing too. Yep. Kevin Logan says, "I think you guys are pretty safe."
Yeah, the largest Air Force in the world is, of course, the U.S. Air Force. The second largest Air Force in the world is the Chinese Air Force. And the third largest Air Force in the world is the U.S. Navy.
We have 2 out of 3 of the largest Air Forces.
Yep. And the Army has its own Air Force stuff for, transporting troops and stuff. It makes you wonder why we have all these separate branches. Why not combine it into one if we're going to have an effective and efficient military empire? I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's like... and then it's like the Marines, there's also their own too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the Coast Guard. But I think the Coast Guard makes sense to be separate because they have the different kind of like duties and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is a military force that is dedicated, hypothetically, to defense and policing.
Mm-hmm. And then the National Guard, it's interesting how the National Guard is well. And then there's the National Guard.
Let's see. Going into Discord, if you go into your user settings, down in voice and video, check your input sensitivity. If you turn it all the way down, then you never have to worry about getting cut off for that.
I should do that. Okay.
There'll be more noise, but that's what Audacity's for.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I gotta remember that. Settings. Come on, where are they?
Down at the bottom next to your name.
Okay, so user settings.
Down app settings, first one is voice and video. And then under input mode, there's input sensitivity. Let's see. You turn it off and then turn it off and then turn the bar all the way down. So it's a nice bright green.
Okay, there we go. I did that. Okay.
There we go. More noise, but no worries about getting cut off.
That was actually, I was about to say, I hear a noise on your end, but as you say, hey, we got Audacity. So we just leave like 5 seconds or 10 seconds of just nothing.
Yep. Easy to do.
The sound of silence.
All right. So you saw Robocop in the theater the other day.
Yes, I did. One of the things that I'm grateful for living in the city of Seattle is that or any other metropolitan area, there is a theater that's on 4th and Lenore in Seattle, in downtown Seattle, called the Cinerama. And it's just one theater, that's it, and they have 2 stories, a balcony, and then and they sometimes do movie festivals and stuff like that. And I only know of the one time when I was at SoccerCon, which is Pacific Northwest Anime Convention, the largest one in the Pacific Northwest. Cinerama 2 years ago advertised their anime movie festival. It's fuck. And I shared this with my brothers. It's hey, check this out. Ooh, that's awesome. And so, yeah, they there I saw Paprika, saw Tokyo Godfather, saw Akira, saw a lot of Studio Ghibli movies like Wind Rises, Kiki's Delivery Service, Porco Rosso, Nazca, The Valley of the Wind, and stuff like that. And so that's how I remember this movie theater. It also has like chocolate popcorn, which is interesting because just think of it like Cocoa Puffs. It's just like Cocoa Puffs that you're eating. But they also serve like draft beers and ciders and like serve wine. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those like.
Sounds very, very Seattle.
It is Seattle cider that they serve there, and so I did give myself one cider. They can limit one drink per person, and only like 3 drinks per person as well. So just like a bar. So I had a Berry Rosa cider, and yeah. So this was the only reason why I went, because it costs money for the popcorn, for the drink, and to see Robocop in the theater. In this theater, it was $17. It's because this is the first time I ever saw Robocop.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, and that's why I sometimes hate calling myself a movie reviewer. So sometimes I say a pretend movie reviewer, even though I haven't posted a movie review on my YouTube channel for like 3 months or so. But I have been watching movies, and just out of laziness, that's why I haven't posted a movie review and stuff like that. And also it's like, no, I want to do this first. I want to do this first. So I prioritize different things, and then that causes laziness as well, which is its own problem as well. So that's why I wanted to see Robocop last night, and yeah, I thought it was like, it was pretty awesome. Because it's also one of those movies that like you have seen reviews of already. I've seen reviews of, or video essays of videos by like MovieBob or some people like that. So I kind of knew about like the scene in the boardroom where the guy just goes,
gets ridiculously gunned down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen Robocop in years. We're talking about the 1987 version by...
Yes, the 1987 version. Not the recent remake, which I have heard nothing but like terrible things about it. It's also PG-13, so it's like, why do a PG-13 version of an R-rated movie and stuff like that? Well, the PG-13, okay, the only one time where I accepted it is Once Upon a Deadpool. Because also it was only for a theatrical release of like 2 weeks, and the proceeds for that was going to a cancer foundation. Yes. So it was good things, and plus it's like, well, we already seen the movie before, so here's the same movie but PG-13, and with the little bits of extras like Fred Savage duct taped to the bed as he's listening to the story of Deadpool. By the way, for the audience listening at home, my audience will probably already know this, but like I'm caffeinated, not heavily caffeinated, but caffeinated. So this is where you get like SomeRandomGeek caffeinated, where we go from point A to point B to point Z to point B, which is why John here probably would be good to like keep me reined in and stuff like that. So back to Robocop.
So Robocop. I remember seeing it when I was a little kid when it first came out. I don't think I understood like half of what was going on there. And I have vaguer memories of seeing it in college, which means I was almost certainly drunk out of my mind. And it was but I much more recently watched a YouTube video of the Chapo Trap House guys talking about Starship Troopers. By the same
director. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and they talked a little bit about Robocop there. So, what I remember of it, in addition to the hyper-violence and the super cool special effects, of course, is a cop who gets mostly murdered and brought back as a robot owned by a corporation working as a cop. Okay.
Well, yeah, and that's an interesting thing as well, because I think it's the OCP, the corporation, also owns the police force. So it's kind of like, yeah, so it's not a big deal because sometimes it comes up, but that's another thing when you look at the world of Robocop and see how it is. It's almost a hyper-capitalized world as it is. And what I find interesting, and watch this now, especially since I'm now watching this as an anti-capitalist and anarchist and like viewing now the world and entertainment through that lens, I love the commercials that they aired during that. My favorite one, and I watched that like someone was quoting my video of it, my expression of it. I'll have to like recreate it, but I was like, it was in the middle of the movie. It was basically like a battleship kind of game that they were advertising. But yet it's like, you're invading Pakistan for me. All right, I'll send the nukes out to you. And it was just like, what? And it's Nukem. And it's just like, my God, it's Cold War world politics down to a video game. And it's like, oh, a board game and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, and then you can like think of like how the hyper capitalization of like everything kind of like, it just like it lets the world just like crumble while the executives of OCP are living in profits. Exactly, are in the like this big high rise like tower or room and stuff like that with a heavy machinery that's guarding the place and stuff like that. And so it looks like
Verhoeven was recreating very deliberately Reagan's America. Sort of in its ultimate form. Sort of like he did with Starship Troopers for Bush's America.
Yeah. The funny thing about Starship Troopers is that, like, my oldest brother, I was like 9 years old. I didn't see it in the theaters, but, like, he was working at a theater when he was in high school. And the biggest problem, and Verhoeven knows about this, is that, like, it's not the movie itself. It was how the movie was marketed. Mm-hmm. It was basically marketed as the next Star Wars. Yep. The problem with that is that it's R-rated and for good reasons, but the parents somehow did not realize that it's an R-rated movie. So my brother was seeing these moms dragging out their 5-year-old child crying out of Starship Troopers. And the mother's going, see, this is why I can never bring you anywhere, because you always act like this whenever I bring you to the movie. And my oldest brother, he's working, of course, so you have to be, like, smiling, and so anything that you are feeling, anything that you are experiencing right now, I can bring this up later.
Your emotions don't make money, therefore you hide them.
Yeah. Exactly. He had to strongly resist. Your 5-year-old child just saw a guy getting chopped in half. Can't you understand that? And then that also makes me wonder, wait a minute, this parent didn't have a problem with like her 5-year-old son seeing the mixed shower scene? Hey, that's progress, I guess.
Yeah. Or maybe they didn't get to the shower scene before the kids started freaking out by the violence.
Yeah, the giant bugs and stuff like that. But that's another thing. About Starship Troopers, especially since like Robert Heinlein and stuff like that, and as we mentioned earlier, like Moon's to the Harsh Mistress is, I think most everyone that saw that kind of knew of like the fascism, symbolism and allegory in that movie. Would you like to know more? Mm-hmm. And especially, I think the bugs were supposed to represent communism for the time when the book was written.
Yes, Heinlein definitely made them out as communist. And I'm not certain that he was really advocating a sort of fascist utopia.
True.
He was exploring that because he was a weird sort of libertarian there. Very, very pro-military life. And yet he was also kind of libertarian and very independent. So I think the Starship Troopers world was him exploring a sort of mesh between those, where you can be as independent as you like, but if you want any sort of authority, you have to be military.
Yeah.
So he had an odd degree of trust for the military authority and so on.
Yeah. That's, what was that? That's an interesting thing. So, by the way, also to mention, if I post this in YouTube, I will link below my friends Hank Culture Shots did a hangout with Kevin Logan, and they explored Starship Troopers in much more depth. Yes, I'm just like. Yes.
That's what I'm remembering this mostly from, actually.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We're operating with the same information then.
Yep. Because I haven't read Starship Troopers too recently, just as I haven't seen the movie since high school.
I haven't seen the movies. When did I see the movie? Now, also, I will say this: Starship Troopers 2 and Starship Troopers 3. Don't watch them. Don't bother.
Never saw them.
They're both direct to DVD, I think. I think 3 is slightly better than 2, but not by much. But they were very low budgeted as well, something like that. There's an animated Starship Troopers, but I don't think I ever saw that.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
I'm guessing that that all the sequels are just there to be violence fests and not even trying for Verhoeven's critique of fascism and U.S. politics.
Yeah, it's kind of like how like when you make a copy of a copy, the deterioration just like happens and stuff like that. Yes, there is a anime Starship Troopers. I just googled. There was a OVA, which I am also a total weeaboo. I'm total otaku and total like anime fan. So OVA, sometimes you see it as OAV. It stands for Original Video Animation. That's what all the letters stands for, something like that.
Oh, that was made in 1988 is the one you're talking about, huh?
Yes, it is, because, and it's by Sunrise and Bandai Visuals. You know what? That's the kind of studio, Sunrise, that I would want them to do with Starship Troopers and stuff like that, because they did the, like, Gundam and they did the Gundam shows and stuff like that. Now I'm onto anime, and now I'm distracted on that, but this is fine. I guess this is kind of like social justice alchemy. When you have the SomeRandomGeek Geek on, this is where you get a bunch of different changes of things. But John has told me, by the way, John's my real name. I put it down in my videos, and so it's like no one's doxing me. If then someone's like, "Oh, hi, Jonathan." But SomeRandomGeek Geek is fine, especially since we already have John, who's in the call.
Yep, John and Jonathan. That won't be confusing at all. You're the one who wears tights, I'm the one who wears jeans, and we both have funny hats. So.
I have over 25 different hats.
I only have about half a dozen, so I'm nowhere near your level of hatitude.
Hatitude. Now I want to bring you back to like an interesting point in my head, but since I got to like anime and got to like Starship Troopers and I like saw Sunrise, then my brain started going down to like, hey, I know this, and go, no, Jonathan, no, let's bring it back to like something, a semblance of like a topic.
Because Robocop.
Yes.
Fascism and its love affair with capitalism.
Fascism is just capitalism decay, and
I think that they are somewhat separate things. Fascism is a rather incoherent philosophy about love of authority. Capitalism is this economic thing that uses monetary systems and so on in order to collect wealth and power. Sort of for its own sake. So they work very, very well together. They are, they're sort of sister concepts and philosophies about the accumulation of wealth and power, but they aren't necessarily the same thing.
Right. I can see that. I think that, in some cases, or when the perfect, like, things to happen for, like, fascism to rise is when, like, capitalism is decaying or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's how other like leftists kind of like or socialists and other anarchists like kind of view it and stuff like that, which is why they always like bring up or even meme the fascist capitalism in decay turns to fascism or just slides to fascism, stuff like that. And so I do agree with you. Yeah, capitalism on its own is not fascism. Yeah, I'm not going to make that. But capitalism as well as liberalism tend to slide to fascism.
Yes,
which is why the Bronx Blogger I was on a hangout with the Bronx Blogger and American Anarchists and the Vegan Anarchists and Social Revolution. Those are all other great YouTube channels and comrades to follow. Bronx Blogger suggests this and points out that you gotta go all the way to the far left and just not be as close, anywhere near like fascism as much as possible. And to a degree, that's how I kind of I'd say it as well. I'm the cis-passing heterosexual white dude. Maybe if they find out that I was raised Catholic, maybe then the Nazis will have a problem with me for being Catholic, I think. Yeah. Or like other like white nationalists and white supremacists probably have a problem with me listening to a Roman dictator or used to listen to a Roman dictator and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, it's like I'm not going to be the first one to like be pushed into the oven or something like that or sent to the camps. And we know right
these
now,
days, you are definitely white. 50 years ago, they would have thrown you in the oven for being Polish or something.
Yeah. There's not. Do I have Polish in me or something like that?
I have no idea. I think I'm No. I'm confusing your list. You're different, Jonathan.
I'm Scottish. Well, yeah. No, I actually remember from like my brother's. It actually, you know what? I need to do ancestry.com because like they can like if you do a blood test or something like that, they can based on your blood. These are distribution of like ethnicities, that's the word, something like that.
Yep.
But anyway, back to my point, it's like, for being a cis-passing het white dude, especially nowadays, the Nazis or the fascists love me, and they try to recruit me, to try to appeal to my whiteness. I now know that's bullshit though. So part of me just like identifying or showing, listen, I'm so far different to you. I'm a communist, which is where I kind of like, I have adopted those ideas. And when I adopted the label of anarchist, I decided anarcho-communist because, just like, also, people don't know of like a green anarchist or like an anarcho-syndicalist. That has to be explained to people. Even though like maybe a anarcho-syndicalist is much more stronger, much more robust like for an anarchist and it can be used as a bridge from like liberalism or democratic socialism to anarcho-communism, which there hasn't been any like anarcho-communist societies that I'm aware of, but I haven't done a lot of research into anarchism as much as possible.
Well, I think there were anarcho-syndicalist and anarcho-communist smaller groups during the Spanish Revolution or the Spanish Civil War.
Yes.
And I believe the Commune de Paris, the Paris Commune, was an anarchistic, but I'm not sure too much about that. I believe it was anarchistic.
Yeah, that's my problem. That's kind of like, that's kind of a problem with me of like identifying as an anarchist. I still believe in their principles, but I sometimes feel like imposter or have imposter syndrome about that because like I haven't read all these books, but other anarchists have said, listen, it's not important to read all things. It's important to like believe in like the values.
And it's also hard to be an anarchist just because information about anarchism has been so thoroughly suppressed. I mean, I'd never heard of the Paris Commune. I wasn't even aware that Les Mis was set in the Paris Commune and so on. And I think it was the Paris Commune. No, the Paris Commune. No, I'm sure. Like I said, it's hard to remember. The Paris Commune was the 1870s. Les Mis is the failed revolution of the late 30s.
Yes. I remember that part. I remember it was like part of one of the failed revolutions and stuff like that.
I think that set of revolutions led to the end of the First or Second Republic and the return of the Bourbon monarchy or something. It was all over the place.
Yeah. Almost like this call.
Who needs to stick to a topic? Topics are boring.
Then again, you said that in the end conversation, so I was like, no, I was thinking of like having this like be more general, just like, let's see, what did you say? Just social justice stuff. I'm neat and totally up to like doing that.
Social justice, anarchism, pop culture, news, whatever. Let's talk about whatever.
Leftism. Yeah, I'm always like willing to talk. That's kind of like sometimes the hangouts that I did with like American Anarchist, like I mentioned. She has like a couple of times just like contact me. Like one time I was actually like going to Seattle to like, cause it was like kind of like a little mini festival or like a bazaar or something like that was happening in the international district of, Seattle. So like Seattle's own Chinatown. I was going to that. Hey, that might be cool. It's cause SoccerCon like mentioned that, hey, we'll be here on Facebook. So I went to that. But then American Anarchist DM'd me. He said, hey, want to do a hangout later today? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So then I just like got off the train, went all the way back to my apartment, and then we did a hangout together. It was just so to like show her channel is like not dead, or because there has been like lack of uploads and stuff like that. Almost like my channel. No, my channel. There's a hangout I did with Owen McDonald earlier this week that I mirrored, and I'm going to like upload soon. And well, I uploaded it, just have to like make it public now. I wanted to like put descriptions and like tags and stuff like that. Over the place, mention American anarchists and how it says leftism, anarchism, social justice, random stuff.
And of course, it'd be, I think, impossible to get through like even a 5-minute conversation without bringing up anime, which we've already done, I think, 3 separate occasions now.
This time it was you that brought it up.
Only once. The other time was you with Robocop. Or no, Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, because I mentioned I saw Robocop last night. I thought it was quite interesting. Oh, yeah, someone else mentioned Robocop, I think in the live chat, Ask Away.
Yes, that's because you asked if you should go to see these things, and one of those was Robocop. You brought that up.
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure if I will see the other movies. I'm definitely going to see Doctor Strangelove and how I stopped worrying and loved the bomb. Because, there's a mini like movie festival that Cinerama's doing. Destruction, disaster, and dystopia. And so last night it was Robocop, and then after that, which I decided not to go to because I was like planning to do something earlier this morning, like donate platelets. So I wanted to like get up early this morning, so I didn't want to like see a movie at the movie theater in Seattle and then get out at like 11 and then have to take like 2 buses or 3 buses to get home at 1 a.m. last night. So, but the other movie was Dread 3D, but I'm not sure if like which Dread it is. I don't know if it's a Sylvester Stallone one or...
I don't think they had the ability to do 3D stuff, but they almost certainly wouldn't have for just a regular Stallone action flick. It's probably the Carl Urban one.
Yeah. I actually liked the Carl Urban one.
I never saw it. And the only reason I know about it really is because Carl Urban just sort of appeared everywhere in the last 5 years. Turns out he's like in every fucking movie now.
Hey, good on him, because I remember Carl Urban in, like, the Hercules, The Legendary Journey, and Xena, Warrior Princess as Cupid. As Cupid.
But like I said, he's everywhere.
Well, he's from New Zealand, and the New Zealand film industry has, like, well, they pick up after Lord of the Rings, but they kind of they finally got like industry and stuff like that in Hobbit. But I don't know much about like the New Zealand film industry, but I have a friend that does. But yeah, that's how kind of Carl Urban became everywhere, because he was in Two Towers, and then then Doom, then Chronicles of Riddick. I actually like that movie. Need to rewatch that movie because Dan Olsen loves that movie as like great trash.
Just the Chronicles of Riddick, the first one. Okay.
Yes, the first one. Oh, yeah, there was a second one.
Mm-hmm. They made a sequel.
Wait. The Chronicles of Riddick was... Yeah, but they probably did make a sequel to that, actually. But I'm
thinking Chronicles of Riddick No, Chronicles of Riddick is the sequel. Yes.
Right, to Pitch Black, which is also a good movie.
That's right, Carl Urban was one of the Necromongers, right?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the Chronicles of Riddick.
I've seen both of them once.
Yeah. I think I want to see Chronicles again because Dan Olsen makes a convincing argument of how there's some good qualities in that movie, or how it is a great example of great trash. Because we should never call things guilty pleasure. If you derive pleasure from something, even as like Real Housewives of LA or Orange County, you should not call it guilty pleasure, because we're not about shaming here on the left. Call it great trash instead. Because if we cannot enjoy great trash as well as great movies, we should not go to the movies at all.
Good point. I agree. I think if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. You enjoy it because it's bad, or you enjoy it in spite of it being bad. Regardless, you enjoy it. Yeah,
exactly. And it might as well bring this up in case like you've seen these movies. Cinerama's today. I'm not.
I live on the opposite side of the country. I'm definitely not going to go to the Cinerama in Seattle.
True, but like I might. But today they're going to do the Terminator. Great movie. Mm-hmm. Haven't seen it in theaters, but I don't.
Well, I kind of. I remember somebody describing it this way: how ridiculous it is that she has sex with, what's his name? Kyle? Reese? Whatever. Because, it's like, oh my god, the world is saved because of a pity fuck.
But hey, someone else brought this up. I think this is a bad astrologist. Hey, that was a plot necessary sex scene.
Because it's the only way to make sure she has the kid? Or because it's the only way to get the tits in order to make sure it gets the R rating?
Yes. I mean, hey, other movies have done it in a clever way. Like Commando, it was totally random that they burst through from one hotel room to another hotel room, and in that other hotel room, they're filming a porno. But hey, that's how they got breasts into that movie. Because it at least makes sense. It's random, but there we go. Courtesy boobs, as they call it in anime.
Similar for Die Hard. Yes, where there's a random pair of tits early in the movie, which provide the distraction necessary for John McClane to be able to get out and into the rest of the tower so he can fight the bad guys.
Yeah. And it makes sense. It's an office party. Sometimes that happens.
Yep.
Behind closed doors. Okay. They're later on tonight, so they're doing the Terminator and then Battlefield Earth.
Oh my god. That is the John Cusack Scientology thing, right?
Not John Travolta.
Cusack. John Travolta, yes.
Yes, John Travolta's in there, and what the fuck am I doing in here? Forrest Whitaker.
Oh my god. And then, let's see, the movie, Dutch Angle, the movie, yes.
Yes, 2.5 hours of Dutch angles.
Without any straight shots anywhere.
That's right.
Even the security cameras are at Dutch angles.
See, maybe because, we gotta appreciate great trash. And my only problem is, I guess the thing is, I haven't seen Battlefield Earth either. And I'm tempted, but it is 2.5 hours. And
yeah, 2.5 hours of garbage, and you have a 3-drink limit.
I mean, they don't pat me down as I go into the movie theater because they have the same rule of no outside food and drink, but I've never been pat down for that, so I can easily bring in a flask. And I got gin too, so.
Maybe just smoke yourself out before you go out.
I don't have weed. I'm not opposed to it. I have because if other people have a pen and they're passing around the pen, I can easily engage with that. So long as it's cannabis, I'm not going to do nicotine.
Of course, nicotine is a pesticide. Cannabis, I don't know what cannabis is for the plant.
Well, for the marijuana plant, that chemicals are there so for you to not eat the plants. It's meant to kill you, but instead it gets us high, an altered state. But on Sunday, Cinerama's going to show Titanic. I think I'm going to skip that. Mm-hmm. I've seen it before, and I think I've seen it in the theater, and it's 3 hours, and it is what it is, and
it's not a terrible movie, but it's not
right.
It's
not as good as we remembered it.
Yeah.
Won 11 Oscars, and who's the director? I'm blanking on his name.
David Cameron.
Yes, he said, "I'm king of the world."
I can make movies about aliens tree fucking or something.
I will admit the technology in Avatar with the blue and Ferngully people was kind of the technology was amazing, and I would say that is a amazing animated movie, CG animated movie with 10% live action.
Yep, and I appreciate the anti-corporate message, but I'm not too big a fan of the white savior thing. That's
yeah, agreed. But here's a dystopian movie that the Cimarron is going to show. But I have seen this before, so I'm not sure I'm going to go to the movie theater to see it, even though it's a great movie theater. Brazil.
I have not seen that one. Is that based on The Boys from Brazil?
Ooh, I'm not sure of that. It's
Boys from Brazil is about Hitler clones, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm not sure if it is. I can tell you there's a Terry Gilliam movie, 1985.
Yeah, it's a mindfuck movie, almost certainly.
Definitely. Absolutely. It stars, Jonathan Pryce is stars in it, and like Michael Palin's in it, and, Bob Hoskins. But then another Terry Gilliam, directed movie that the Cinerama's showing, 12 Monkeys.
Yep. And Brazil is definitely not Boys from Brazil.
Okay, yeah. But I've already seen 12 Monkeys, and then they're doing Doctor Strangelove, as I already mentioned, Clockwork Orange. Now, I've seen the Clockwork Orange, and it's amazing. Not sure I want to see it in the movie theater, but yet it's Stanley Kubrick. And so, like,
I'm not a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick in general. I mean, and I don't think I've seen A Clockwork Orange. I've seen bits and pieces, definitely. And I've read the book. But
I haven't done that. I don't read books generally, unfortunately.
So for Kubrick, I've seen 2001. I've seen Eyes Wide Shut, Doctor Strangelove. I've seen a few. I'm just not a huge fan of his work. I don't know. Seems very, I don't know, pretentious. That's how it feels.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way to shake that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like as I described it to Steve Shives once, that seems like Kubrick, when he was a kid, he learned how to crawl. He crawled right up his own ass and stayed there for the rest of his life.
I was taking a drink as you said that, and it's like it was a means of restraint for me not to spit it out, especially all over from my computer. And then the last two movies that they're showing at the Destruction, Disaster, Dystopia, Jurassic Park. I'm not as big on it as others.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people, it was just, it came out when they were 12, 13. Yeah. It was a big cinematic feature and very pretty and fun. And so it was technologically amazing for its time.
Yes.
There's a lot to it there. And of course, you have, a lot of really good actors working together to help make it pretty great. And the John Williams score. I mean, there's just a whole lot going into it. So even though it's not great cinema, really, it's a really good, fun movie. And
I mean, Spielberg is good at that, I think. Or, like, solid on that.
Yeah, he's really good at making really solid films, yeah.
Yeah, I bet I did not want to see Ready Player One, so I skipped that one.
I mean, the whole concept of that movie, and book, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
You know what? It's like, I had a friend that was like, "Oh, I want to see Ready Player One. Oh, it's coming out. This is what he sees it as like a big event of seeing Ready Player One." I'll admit, because he's a fan of the book, and so, but I was just like, I was then watching the trailer, so it's like, yeah, I recognize all those characters. Yeah, there's Tracer with Chun-Li in this scene, and there's the Iron Giant. Okay, there's Gundam. Okay, and I was thinking, I would write the story as like a daydream fanfic, and somehow this is becoming a movie, or someone published their own daydream fanfic of like all these characters in this one property at once. Yay! Awesome! Cool!
How being a 1980s pop culture loser makes you the winner, and you get the girl, and it's
Oh yeah, and then there's also the you win the girl sort of thing. And that's and then final movie is Die Hard, which I have seen, and it's one of the best Christmas movies, I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fun. Is it really dystopian? Or no, Disaster and Destruction was the rest of that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like it's just like a random mixture of like three different things and stuff like that. And speaking of like the guy getting the girl, that's the one good thing about Robocop. Someone mentioned it. It's like there is no love interest for the main character, Murphy. He already had a wife. Then there is the partner he gets, but there were other movies could have easily done where it's just like the partner who's female. I forgot her name right at the top of the moment, but like she could easily be fallen for the broken man, the man is more machine now, and stuff like that.
And then she dies to give him the motivation to go fight the bad guys, and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. Yeah. But that did not happen in RoboCop at all. It was just strictly professional and platonic.
Yeah.
And it's like, and she was like, cared for him, knew that it was Murphy, underneath the thing, even though he at the time did not do that because he's programmed just to be a robot. And so it's nice when he's like, sometimes people say, "Oh, feminists are trying to like take away our video games." No, not necessarily.
We're trying to improve them.
Exactly. And sometimes when you like see things through that lens and can find a little nugget like that, like from Robocop, you can appreciate something more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. There are other times, and I'm going to bring up anime again. I am a fan of anime, and that's difficult to. It's not impossible to enjoy anime being a feminist. There's the website animefeminist.com, but
there can be a lot of really problematic shit, even in really great anime. Yeah,
Kill la Kill has a lot of fan service, and some people just cannot get over the fan service. And if those are the kind of so that I can understand if they're cannot accept any kind of fan service or any level of fan service. I know not to recommend to them Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, because it's not that one. They never made it a plot point of how the size of the size of the character's boobs. They always bring it up though, as well as like the main female lead, Miss Kobayashi's like, oh my god, that's so ridiculous. Why have you been so blessed? Why are you so blessed like that? Oh. But they always also make jokes in reference to it as well. And speaking of anime feminists, a lot of the editors and writers will be like, kind of get this all the time in comments. They love Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid or something like that, but they hate the fan service. And then they'll get comments by the anime ride, like the anime avatars on Twitter. How can you hate the fan service in Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid but love the show? You either love it or you hate it. Why is it? And it's like,
very simplistic folks that don't understand that you can deconstruct a work and analyze the different parts. Yeah,
that's right-wing thinking, as it is. It's
very
just
black and white.
Yeah, very simple. Only 2 genders, only 3 sexualities. This person was asked, what are the 3? Heterosexuality, homosexuality, asexuality. I want to bring it up to that person. You realize one of the other sexualities you picked is a spectrum. Asexuality is a spectrum. So if you pick one of your sexualities to be a spectrum, can't you accept that like sexuality as a spectrum?
Nope, it's all or nothing. All or nothing. The dial goes from 0 to 1 with nothing in between. No, it's 0, 1, negative 1. There we go.
Yeah, the one time I was in a hangout randomly with a narco-capitalist. I found out later he was a narco-capitalist. I did get to say to that I said this before in other places. I did get to say to him, anarcho-capitalists are just big babies who don't want to pay taxes.
Yep.
He smirked, but it's like, I was having this debate with him between left and right, and of course he Google searched the first image of left and right, and in there it had collectivism on the left and individuality on the right, or individualism on the right. And ThoughtSlime made a recent video.
Yeah, I just watched that the other day too. Really great video.
Yeah,
it's what my brain went to immediately when you brought that up.
Yeah, there's no dichotomy between collectivism and individualism, but like this narco-capitalist was making a point that since collectivism's on the left, that would mean that the alt-right are on the left because they're collectivists, just like Black Lives Matters. I literally said, what the fuck? And then screamed bullshit at him for another point that he was making. But my point is that later on, after we went off air, I was trying to, I think I did ask him point blank, do you crave
human contact of any kind?
No, not that. I didn't want to shame him. Even though I wasn't an anarchist at this time, I was less anarchist friendly, as it were, a socialist for sure. I said, do you crave certainty? That's what it was. Do you crave certainty? Yes, I do. I crave certainty. It's like, okay, I think that's the difference between you and I, because I tolerate a lot of ambiguity. And I mentioned how I used to play poker. And when I studied to play poker well, one thing you learn is that there's so many different things that are going on in a poker hand that what is the answer to how to play this hand of poker? It depends. Yeah, you can have you could have pocket aces, but you shouldn't always like raise it. You should raise it most of the time, of course, but you shouldn't always raise it. Or it's sometimes like, well, how many chips do you have? Well, what's your position in the table? Well, is it a tournament or a cash game? Or what's the M and stuff like that? What's the history with all the players? Do you have a tails on the other players? And so that's how, like, even like studying poker, I kind of like tolerate a lot of ambiguity because A, it depends, and B, no two poker hands are alike, and C, so many different factors goes into a poker hand that inform my thinking this way, the poker mindset this way, so that when I'm approaching like social justice issues, I can understand there's so many different factors going into something that's happening, or intersectionality. The world is a
complex and messy place. If you want certainty, you're never going to find it. Trying to create certainty just creates suffering.
Yes. Oh, yes. I want the wall right now. Give me $5 billion or else I'll shut down the government.
Ugh, I hate that guy so much. Cheeto Hitler.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have been recording for about an hour. That would be easy enough, I think, to cut down to half an hour. No problem there.
True. Very true.
All right. So let's go ahead and do some sign-offs. That is an interesting week in social justice alchemy. Chatting with my friend Jonathan there, the geek. You can find their YouTube channel over at another place. I'll link that down in the thingy. And if you want to find me doing something completely different, I participate in another podcast, Dungeons and Debacles, a D&D game hosted by my friend Kevin, where we're playing an evil party looking to unleash an ancient red dragon. A lot of fun, very, very different. Another link down there. And Jonathan, if there's anything you'd like to highlight, like the people who could use some help, or other channels you would like to recommend.
Well, follow me on Twitter at SomeRandomGeek. That's like 3's in the word geek. And, I do have like a friend, Joanna. She always has to beg in order to live because she's disabled. And so if anyone that can give money, I understand that money's tight for everyone. But that's Seraphin at gmail.com by PayPal will be the way to give her money, and I'll send the link over to John so she can put it in the descriptions and stuff like that. And by the way, yes, I am non-binary, and he, him's my pronouns. I'm male plus, but they, them is fine. So it's you didn't misgender me. That's okay. And I am SomeRandomGeek on the SomeRandomGeek YouTube channel. Eventually I'll post videos up eventually. So just check in every once in a while, see if there's anything new, see if there's anything you like, and stay awesome, my friends.
All right. See you next week.